What if it really is possible to do something altogether different with your life? What if that dream you thought was dead really is not only possible, but within your reach in just the next few months or years? What if you wake up tomorrow morning and discover a whole new way of making a living, or maybe even living your life? On this show, you'll meet people who have seen major changes take place in their lives, and the lives of those around them. Some of them even believe the changes have made the world a better place. On each of our shows, we showcase people who are creating positive change in South Carolina. But this show in particular is about a very personal kind of change that still has wide-reaching power and promise. Check out these innovative business owners and creative dynamos. Let us know what you think. I'm Pat Jobe. Thank you for making the connection. David and Amy Hill own Verde Construction, which is in Ladson, South Carolina, and it's a green building company. And by green, they mean a company that builds houses that have a low environmental impact and are great at energy use. So I got that right?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Did I miss anything?
Well, it's not that you missed anything. I think sometimes when people talk about green building, they're looking for all the bells and the whistles and the gizmos. And we've got a few of those, but really what we're trying to do is just build a better house for a comparable price to the market. And if we can do that, we wind up a lot greener than I think what you normally see in the market.
So what is your pitch when somebody walks in the door?
Well, usually we don't have to pitch. That's a good thing, because people find us more often than we find them. But occasionally somebody will come in and they'll say, I just want you to work on the design portion of this. And we say, well, we'll be happy to do that, but we want to include certain green building elements. If their question is, what does that mean? I say, same house, same price, same look, same everything, half the utilities.
Half the utilities.
And that usually brings them right on in. So,
how do you accomplish that? How do you give somebody half their utility bill?
Well, I think it starts with the structural insulated panels that we use. And what those give us is not only superior strength, they give us the ability to move very quickly on a job. They give us the ability to have better sound isolation from the outdoors. But the biggest thing they do is they really change what we call the thermal envelope of the building. They're very tight, so you don't have a lot of air leakage that you would have normally, and the R value is very good. And from there, we start looking at things like the type of appliances we're using, type of lighting we're using, type of plumbing fixtures we're using, type of water heating equipment that we're using, all of that. I think it's the integration of all that that is really kind of different about what we do.
So this is plywood on either side, and tell us about this, Amy.
Well, this is used for wall and roof panels, and it is 2 sheets of OSB bonded together with a rigid styrofoam insulation. And so this is your sheathing, your insulation, and it's a structural panel all in one. Used for exterior walls and roof, it gives you a much greater insulation value than typical stick frame construction with your batt insulation.
So we get a bunch of raw panels in to that side of the warehouse, and then they've got a shop drawing that they use that says, okay, here's 8 panels in a given wall. I'm going to number them 101 through 108. I need to cut a door and a window right there. I need to cut an electrical box or a switch plate location here or there. And so when it's all said and done, you get a stack of panels, such as you're seeing right here, which are coordinated with the drawings, numbered, ready to go, and stacked correctly out on site. So it shows up almost like an erector set. Our typical house is about 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. I think we were just saying we do them smaller as well as much bigger than that. But what's great about that size and scale and the way we try to put these things together and actually keep it very simple is we can go from foundation to front door key. In other words, we can be all the way in the dry in a secure home in about a week, which is really big. It not only feels good and looks good and is impressive, but what that helps is that even though it's a small company, we have a very much of a production mindset.
So you guys are innovators. You're doing something that everybody else doesn't do. How do you go from working for a big architectural firm to deciding, hey, we want to own our own business, we want to do something different?
You know, luckily as husband and wife, and business partners, we had a common vision of where we wanted to go, and we kind of paid a lot of attention to the market. We did a lot of market research before we ever sort of dived into all of this, and we saw a niche market that we could really fulfill. And really, we've created the market and filled the market at the same time. You know, a lot of it is creating that niche market.
It all has to kind of start at the top, and the best way we see it being able to start at the top is sort of being up at the top ourselves and being able to bring people in who are like-minded, or at least willing to look, learn, and listen, and kind of get that under their belt. We get to enjoy what most people would put off as a checklist. Well, I can work when I want to, I can take the day off, I can go to my child's sports program or school program or whatever. And all that's true, but on the other hand, I mean, I do everything from negotiate contracts to empty the trash to anything else around here, and even though we have distinct roles, we have a lot of overlap just to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Even in the struggles of, you know, this issue or that come up on a daily basis, it's never boring, and
Nope.
you know, there's a pride in being able to create what we've created, especially when it's going well.
Which usually it is,
Even
thank
when
goodness.
it's going bad,
Yeah.
at least we know that it's our own, and we know that, you know, ultimately the responsibility is with us, and there's a lot of pride in like I said, the successes and just seeing, you know, a vision of what we've had in our heads and we've talked about with each other really coming to life. I mean, that's not something everybody gets every day. So.
Right.
Jameson and Ryan Whitbeck are boat builders, but they're more than that. They're adventurers, they are entrepreneurs, they own their own business, and they have quite a story to tell. So let's get at it, guys. Jameson, you want to start us off? Start from the beginning. This is not the first boat that you guys have built.
No, this is the second one that we built as brothers. I worked in a boatyard in South Carolina, learned to build these 50-foot wooden catamarans, and then my brothers and I all got together and built our own 6 years ago. So,
from Charleston with the last boat, it took us all the way down into the Virgin Islands, where we spent about 5 years. Our projects have taken us out to Colorado, and where this one takes us is still up for debate, but you know, I think it's important to keep in mind that we are more than just boat builders. You know, it's something that boats are one thing that we have a passion for, and I think it's a unique enough trade to get people out and to get the creative minds of kids and people of any ages, but to get out and to express that creativity.
and building is the big thing. We call ourselves adventure builders, and it's something I think we've kind of invented because it's something we've done our whole lives since we were young. You know, we build cool things, go to beautiful places, and it's like a constant expedition. So we've never really given up on that whole idea. I mean, we're building a 50-foot turnkey adventure business. It is an interesting thing, and you know that you're going to have interested buyers and people that would love to run a sailing charter business down in the islands. You're giving them that tool, and it's comforting to know that that's what your product is. Of all the hard work and early mornings and frustrating times, you look back at the end of the day, and it's a nice product to be working on.
Okay, so you guys have a vision for what you want to do with these huge pieces behind us. Give us kind of a best case scenario of what might happen when this boat is finished.
We want to teach. I mean, what eventually the long-term goal is to have a floating classroom and then have a mountain operation where we took people into the backcountry of the mountains, but not in the way that it's been done before. Not you just trudge around the wilderness and you just point and take pictures. That we would actually go and do meaningful things. We would build or rebuild, and that's the basis for adventure building, is to go to these beautiful places, expedition, but create something tangible and work with the cultures or the people there to help and lend a hand. That's the long-term goal.
What gets you up in the morning? What turns you on about all of this?
You know, I think it's anyone that works for themselves generally is doing something they're passionate about. And what ultimately drove us to boats and to this, this new endeavor with Lost Trades may always be a bit of a mystery, but when you do something that you love, it just clicks. You just know it in your heart. And getting up in the morning is never a challenge. I've always said that there's no harder job than a job you hate, because every morning is torturous, you know. And I've certainly had those jobs. I've attempted to break away from what we know and what we knew we were passionate about, but you can't fight it, you know. And so I think that's whatever you do, you keep going back to it. But I think for us, the reason we do it is just the daily satisfaction, creating something, being able to step back and look at this 50-foot by 30-foot creation that you've over time have created, you know.
It's tangible. And these particular boats, these catamarans that we've built, it's a tangible creation that you get to share with people, and it's kind of rare because you build it, you create it on your own, and people can then stand on it, sail on it. You can have a cocktail party. You can absolutely just get out of your normal everyday life, and you can abstract yourself and get some real satisfaction by going out on the water, sailing, a little bit of a sense of adventure that you wouldn't otherwise have. So it's about that constant adventure, I think.
Yeah, it's just a deep passion for something, you know. It's very real, it's very raw, and if you just accept it and hopefully it's something that's creative like this, you know. If your passion is hopefully within the law, you know, you should be able to chase it.
Creativity unused becomes depression. This whole entire thing being difficult to explain to people, you know, you're an adventure builder. What is that? I mean, we had made a 50-page business plan, every detail of the business and similar businesses were all laid out in this nice compendium, you know, this summary of what we were going to do, and all the numbers worked. But when you try and describe this to a banker or an official lending source, they just look at you like you're absolutely insane, because first of all, a boat, you know, we were young and naive, we didn't even know any of this, didn't have any collateral to show, and a boat cannot be used for any kind of collateral later because it's movable property.
The best advice that we got from a lender, a potential lender who decided against lending money to us, was to get just enough to start, which I think we started with, though, you know, just a few $1,000s, and we bought some tools and we bought the plans for the boat.
We had to turn to private investors to fund the entire project, so that was a huge challenge. It's just having people trust three guys in their 20s that are going to build a boat and sail off and create an adventure business. That doesn't really sound good. You know, it's hard to trust someone in that situation. So that was one of the biggest challenges. But I can remember telling Ryan and Kyle, telling my brothers that if money was the only thing stopping us, that it couldn't stop us, that we would eventually get there.
This may be the type of job that you never can retire from.
Yeah, on the boat one day when I was captaining the boat in the islands, had been, you know, sailing for 5 years basically. I was sitting down in a stool, had my toes on the steering wheel of this 50-foot boat, was feeling pretty good about myself, and this guy that worked, it was a giant corporation that we took out on the boat, like 50 people, and he came up to the helm and he said, "You know what, you are absolutely unemployable. You've ruined your work life. You'll never be able to have a normal job now." And I just said, "Thank you."
Dwayne and Toya Green are lawyers here in downtown Charleston. Toya is a member of the Charleston School Board, but we're not going to ask her any questions about that. What we're interested in is their lives as small business owners, as promoters of entrepreneurial spirit. And Dwayne, I know you've got a lot of strong feelings about people stepping out, taking risks as entrepreneurs. So why don't we start there? What do you tell folks when you're encouraging them to make this move in their lives?
Well, I think it's important to know what someone wants to have as what someone has as their passion. A lot of times people get on one career path or another just because it seems like the way to go, or it seems like it's predestined for them. The great thing about owning your own practice or owning your own business is most of the pressure is self-created. There's a difference between having other people pressure you for what they think is results, and there's always peccadillos and idiosyncrasies that people might have and trying to make other people happy. But when you have your own business, really you set the bar, and then you can set it as high as you like. And if you're an overachiever, if you really have a passion for what you're doing, it's very fulfilling to be able to work at your own pace, and there's a special kind of feeling when you're able to achieve goals that you set for yourself.
It's working now, but at the beginning, were you scared?
Absolutely. I actually didn't want to do it in the beginning, and it took some convincing from Dwayne that this would be a good risk to take, and he was right. And I'm no longer as risk adverse as I was 5-6 years ago. So I can't describe how scary it was, although I encourage people to go through it whenever they approach me about the possibility of doing it themselves, because there's nothing better, in my opinion. We quit our jobs at the same time, so we were jobless with a mortgage to pay and renting an office. We also found out we were expecting our daughter in that time period after we quit. So the emotions were very high, and but it's been a wonderful experience, life-changing experience to start up our own law firm, and I don't think there's any going back after you experience the freedom and so forth of being.
I can't let you get by that quickly. You were expecting a child, you had no job, you had rent on the office and a mortgage. Now come on, tell us a little bit more about what that was like.
Well, both of our parents were encouraging us. We had family support. We were working nonstop even though we didn't have clients. So we were writing a business plan. We had a very detailed business plan. We met with bankers, small bankers in particular, because that was recommended to us as the way to go for a new business starting up. So there was a lot of thought and energy put into it, so that there was a lot of ways to release the anxiety I was feeling at the same time. So, you know, and then I think we opened the door May 1st, and we're just waiting for the phones to ring for a while and trying to get the word out there to legal colleagues that we had started our practice. So, and then it snowballed over the years.
One of the primary motivating factors, I think, for us was being able to give back to the community at the same time. And I say that not tongue-in-cheek or, I know it sounds cliche, but for me to live in Charleston and to see some of the needs that I think are evident in South Carolina as a community, particularly from a minority standpoint, we thought it was very important to get involved on a civic level. And if you can make a difference that way, and your business supports you, or the career that you've chosen supports that output of giving back to the community, that goes hand in hand for us.
Ann Newell is a Daniel Island businesswoman whose business Performax is a consulting and coaching organization that works with individuals and companies to help them achieve maximum performance. But what we're particularly interested in is the work that you do to help people come to the point in their lives where they can change from being in a secure job, quote unquote, to owning their own businesses. How does that process happen when someone comes to you and says, hey, I got this great idea and I want to do this thing?
Well, I mean, obviously it starts with a dream. And what we try to do is help them figure out how to take that passion and make it something that pays. Because you can take that passion and make it something that drains your bank account, and that doesn't really help anybody. But typical business planning is around things like your marketing plan and your financial plan. And those are really, really, really important, except that it leaves out the core, the heart of the thing, and that is, what is it that you really want this business to do for you and for your life? And how do your talents, the things you love and the behaviors you have right now, how does that fit into the big picture? So instead of just writing a business plan for your business, we're writing a business plan for your life and how all of that fits together. We help people really identify their passion in the sense of where is it that the things that you really love to do, the things that you're really good at, and the habits you have right now, where's that sweet spot where they all intersect? Because that is your starting point and that's your point of power for right now. And then how do you build on that to get from where you are right now to wherever it is that you want to be? We help them look at themselves as individuals. Is there anything standing in the way? Is there a habit or a relationship or a belief that's keeping you right now from getting the results that you want? So it may be that you discover that you don't actually want to start your own business. You want to be an entrepreneur within the job that you have right now. Or it may be that you suddenly realize, I can do this. I can take this idea and I can make it be a part of the life that I really want.
Work ethic, hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah, beyond what you thought you could do, you know. Transcending what you woke up and thought you would be doing that day, you know, you have to work harder, tenfold as hard as you thought, and that's as easy as it is. You could do anything, as long as you've got that really strong work ethic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. There have been times where it's been, you think, well, maybe just going to 9-to-5 job and being able to leave it at home and coming home with a regular paycheck would be really nice. But we've also been there. We've also had those jobs where, for one reason or another, they just weren't really fulfilling. And so there are definitely times where we've said maybe some other path would be easier. But the persistence. I mean, we've said that we have this vision and we're going to kind of see it through.
I don't think I ever get tempted to give up so much as every now and then swim to the side of the stream and just rest a little bit, because it's a lot of upstream swimming here.
Oh yeah.
I think luck is self-created, so I think when you are proud of the type of work that you do and people recognize it, that kind of makes its own luck. So there's no doubt there's been luck there. People would say we were lucky, but we kind of have a hunch that it's self-created, that you create your own luck.
Dad, who works with us, has always been a role model for me. He's always been a very, very, very honest person, very ethical person, very hardworking person. And I think the truth will out as far as your reputation, both as a person and as a business person, if you can layer everything else you're doing into those sort of personal core values too.
I don't know, I mean, David really has been my role model in terms of this vision that kind of you keep plugging away at. I mean, sometimes it's very easy to say, I'm gonna cry.
I always am looking for stars, people that I deem to be doing really well for themselves and for the community in which they live, and try to model myself after them, or even a step further, I'll try to befriend them and find out how they're doing what they're doing.
Oh my. Role models, Greg Knoll.
Yeah.
A surfer that was the first guy, Greg Knoll was the first guy to surf Waimea in Hawaii, and I think he's one of those guys that questions when people say, oh, you can't do that, it's not possible. And he just said, why? Why can't I paddle out and surf that giant wave out there?
They're important, but good ideas in and of themselves are not what's important. Every one of us, we are bombarded with good ideas every minute of every day. Do you take notice? Do you do anything about it? That's what's important.
Planning is definitely something that we take very seriously. It's got to be concise, it's got to be articulated well, and you've got to think about all the contingencies, all the things that could go wrong, because in sailing especially, it will go wrong for sure, and then it'll go wrong double as bad as you thought it was going to go wrong. So you've got to have all these backup plans and contingencies, and once you're ready for that, you can do anything.
Yeah.
If we start at the core, we start at the basics, and we work from the individual out, every time an individual becomes better, the people around them become better, the space around them becomes better, the energy around them becomes better. It's infectious.
If we went with the herd and just got a normal job like we've had extreme pressures to do in the past, I think if we were just getting by and giving up on dreams, then I don't know if, I think if everybody did their dreams, the world would be a better place. So I feel like at least we're doing our part to do what we're passionate about, and maybe it helps someone else be passionate about their dream.
Keep telling the story, and enough people will hear it.
It's hard to add anything to those stories. We found a lot of people to admire in our short time on your television sets, but this time we feel like we hit a particularly rich vein of inspiration and energy. The folks on this show are really good at what they do, and they do it in powerful ways, but that doesn't mean you can't do it too. Do you have a dream that's been begging you to open your heart and go to work? Are you ready to take a chance on doing something more with your life? Our next show goes into even more detail about how you can make your dreams come true. We hope you'll go for your dream, not just for your sake, but for the sake of everybody who will benefit from your ideas. Go to our website, make a donation of money or feedback or ideas about some future show. Let us know what you think. Finally, let me respond to a lady who asked me a question the other day. She said, I've been watching your show and I enjoy it, but I really don't know what it's all about. Can you tell me what you're trying to do? We hope to make South Carolina and maybe the whole world a better place by telling stories of people who care passionately about helping others, making their world better, and doing what they love. Whether it's teaching a life-changing class or patrolling the streets to free them of drugs and violence, we found people willing to organize, plant a crop, or ride a horse in ways that touch the lives of other people in positive ways. I'm Pat Jobe. Thank you for making the connection.
When we listen to a story and we see the world through someone else's eyes, it can help us understand them as they talk of what's important in their lives. We start breaking down those walls. We're not so different after all. We're making the connection. Making the connection. Making the connection.